Okay.
Anyway, I had been in real estate or knowledge of it for about 45 years. I not was in a business, but I did it just because I loved what I did. My late husband was a journeyman carpenter. I was with him for 25 years. And so in that time, I learned a lot about construction. I learned a lot about real estate in
Would you like a
itself.
soda or something?
No, thank you, Larry. Thank you.
And so anyway, in so doing, I got a real education out there as far as ways and different techniques of selling and buying properties.
Yes.
So actually, like I said, I bought and sold little trailers, travel trailers.
Yeah.
You know, like put them in a trailer park, and then I'd fix them up, and I'd sell them and move on to another, and so on and so forth. And so finally, back in the 80s, I had bought real estate, okay? You know, land and house and that. An acre, not, it was maybe quarter acre I started out with. But anyway, to make a long story short, I made some money on that. And then I went into something else, and then so on. And so most recently that I can say that I've dealt with really real estate here is in this community. I had bought a house over on Brentwood, which is only a couple blocks from us, on the golf course.
Yeah, I remember that. I went to that house.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's still beautiful, and more beautiful. But anyway, to make a long story short, I had bought that and made payments on it because it was non-financeable. It was a 1974. Well, I still loved it, and we still enjoyed it.
Yes.
And anyway, because the market had fell through in 2008, in 2010, we went ahead and put it up for rent. Now, the renters lived there for 2.5 years. They were on time. In fact, they bought another piece of property to own in the community down the street. But in the meanwhile, we have to be very good friends and everything, and then we bought or made payments on another place while this was being rented in East Lake, which is a gated community. I then, in 2011, was appointed president of that association of 202 homes.
She straightened them out too.
And so when I had gotten in there as president, they did not have a lawyer on retainer. I went to San Diego and got a lawyer for the association, which they were all in agreement to, that for lawsuit purposes, that they really needed this. And so to this day, they've still got the same lawyer. But anyway, so we lived in that place for 3 years, and then my renters decided that they wanted to buy their own property, and so we went ahead and sold that property and moved back to Brentwood and lived in there for another year and a half.
Almost 2 years.
But anyway, we went ahead and buy owner because we couldn't get it financed. By owner, we went ahead and sold that property over on Brentwood
And they walked in with
to a cash buyer. Cash. Now, those people were not ready at the time when they looked at our home in October of 2014. They were not ready to buy yet because they were settling an estate in Florida.
Yeah, that's right.
So he came back in December and he said, I want your house. I gotta have your house. So we sold it for $157,000 cash money, which was a big loss to us because in 2008 we paid $210 and then invested money into it as far as doing it our way. Well,
But then the market got soft.
Mm-hmm.
so, and to make a long story short, in 2014,
Mm-hmm.
December 2014, they had purchased our home. And so we did not have a plan at all where we were going to go, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we saw that I've been looking at this
Yeah.
house that we're in right now that we're going to sell for about 5 months. And the market, they were too high on this house to sell. So I watched it and watched it and watched it. And so as soon as we sold Brentwood, I had called you up and said, I need help here. I've got to find a place. And I said, we don't have cash, really, because, our money was invested in other real estate. So you said, okay, let's go out and look. Okay, so we went out and looked in Sierra North South at the first property that you had listed. And I loved your demeanor and I loved your knowledge so much that I had called you up and said, look, Don, I'm on the computer and I'm looking at a house or manufactured home for 5 months. And I said, they're asking $149,000 for it. But I said, we cannot do that. I said, the most we could go is $139,000. So you said, okay. So you got in touch with this real estate company, Century 21, and called them up and talked with them and said you wanted to speak to the seller.
Mm-hmm.
And in so doing, you told them right up the front, now, I have a buyer that wants your house, but they cannot go any more than $139,000. These people here in this home that owned it from the beginning of when it was moved in here said, we'll take it. Come bring them over. So we came over.
We still talk with them.
Yeah. I'll tell you the story about them later.
Yeah.
But anyway, to make a long story short, we came over and looked at it and everything was done. And it went through as fast as could be, and you were Johnny on the spot. I was so impressed with your demeanor and your knowledge and being there for us as far as keeping up with the paperwork. And these people were so overjoyed because they had to get out of here because they were paying on this house and they were paying on an assisted living in what it was called, Imperial City in San Diego. Isn't that what it's called?
Yes, it was.
They were going into assisted living. And the reason for them selling was the square footage was going to be a lot less there, less maintenance and everything, because they're a little bit younger than we are. But anyway, to make a long story short, we have loved this house so much. But
And you did a lot of improvements. You took care of it.
Many,
And you are meticulous. And you can tell by the way she's keeping the house up, including Larry.
No extra charge.
Many improvements
Right.
in this house, as I showed you, And so I just felt in my heart that
Because you took care of it, you did improvements because this is
Love.
the way you wanted to live.
Oh, yeah.
So
I
you
didn't
didn't
wasn't-
put the improvements to sell.
That's right. And
You-
also I love my home.
Yes.
Not a house.
Correct.
A home.
Yes.
And we made a home out of it.
Well,
And-
we put a new roof on there.
You
Yeah.
know.
We did the back there, the patio.
Yes,
there, and all
yes.
that, you know.
And all of it's permitted as far as it being done professionally.
Yeah.
It's not
everything.
done
Professionally, legally, with permits and improvements like the kitchen, where you had electric and you converted it
yeah,
to gas.
Gas. And the
You put a
microwave.
microwave where the
with
vent was. You put a shower.
Yeah,
You put a
in the
new
back-
roof. You
bathroom.
put a patio.
Yes, the patio
And-
was about
And
45.
this place is always, from curb appeal to inside, always feel like a regular home.
Yes, yes.
Oh, that
So I
patio.
like coming here. I was shocked that you kept my information and you called me.
I kept it on the
Oh, no,
computer,
she
in the
Yeah.
archives.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good.
And I said, I gotta have him back. I gotta see him.
You remember when we put that patio on the
Yes,
back there?
yes,
You know?
yes.
Mm-mm. Well, but anyway, you were talking about relationships.
Mhm.
My renters, to this very moment,
Still friends with you. 40
they
years.
came over. There was a big balloon
Yeah.
when I had surgery
Yeah.
last Monday. They came over with a balloon, the flowers, and they said, you know what? You're the greatest
Yeah.
as far as landlady.
Yeah.
And like I said, the woman that I have been keeping in touch with, she lives out in Barstow. I've known her for 40 years. When she first rented my little trailer, she was in the service with a disability, and she was hurting as far as money because she was in the middle of a legal battle. So she went ahead and rented this little 8x40 trailer, which I went ahead and put a screen porch in on it so it made more square footage. And my late husband put it together. Do you know that a year later she was absolutely in love with that little 8x40 Pullman trailer that she wanted to make payment. She wanted to put a down payment and buy it, which I didn't charge her a whole lot for because it wasn't worth very much. I only paid $2,400 for it to start with. So I don't know. It may have been I sold it to her for $3,000 or $4,000, probably $4,000. But I took payment plan. Do you know she sold it and she bought property out in the desert?
In Victorville, yeah.
Do you know she's still in touch with me after 45 years?
We ran into her. We were at the
VA hospital.
VA hospital in Redlands, and we were in the cafeteria.
And she ran up to me and
she was having lunch there.
Yeah.
And we ran into her.
She was in a wheelchair at that time. You know, at this time now she's
We
in
talk
a
about a small.
yeah.
It's a small world, yes.
Electric wheelchair, and she come flying through the cafeteria and put her arms around me. And of course, I didn't know who it was. And she said, "Oh my," she says, "You're still around. How are you?" And blah blah blah. You know. So yeah, she'd never forget me.
But you know the thing is, you both doesn't look a day older from the last time I saw you.
No.
So and also that your overall demeanor, your motherly touch, spirit is unbelievable. My favorite show is Andy Griffith Show. I'm at Ann B's house now. Okay.
You what, honey?
Andy Griffith Show. Did you ever watch that? That's my favorite show all time.
It's a good one too.
Yeah, it's good because I like that kind of atmosphere. You know, that kind of, everybody is friends with everybody.
Oh yeah, our
Everybody
neighbors are
care for each
wonderful.
other.
Yes,
Yeah.
And like I said, the husband and wife across the street are mom and pop to the son and daughter-in-law that live next door, or will be retiring, and they bought both pieces of property, and the mom and dad come over and see us and bring us bearing gifts of fruit and just socializing. They don't bother us.
Yeah.
They're sweet people.
They're just beautiful, beautiful people.
Yeah.
And after I, met them, and I met the son and the daughter-in-law, anyway, and them telling me that they lived in the same apartment building for 43 years in LA. I said, what? I never heard of such a thing.
Yeah.
And then she told us, she said, I'm in heaven. I love it here.